AITAH for shaking the hand of the man who told my mother-in-law to shut up. My wife, 26, let's call her Hope, 26, and my daughter, 1.5 at the time, we will call her May, went to visit my wife's family. For some of them, this was their first time meeting my daughter. They live very far away, and we stayed in their home most of the time we were there. A little background for this story is that Hope and her siblings were very emotionally abused by their mother growing up, and their father worked a lot to make ends meet, missing a lot of the problems, as well as being emotionally abused himself by his wife. May's emotional needs were always expected to be taken care of first, and everyone around her has become very afraid of any conflict because of this. She is still very abusive, and my wife and I have talked about how to prevent that from also happening to my daughter. We were using public transportation much of the time we were there, but the day in question was the first trip on the train that my MIL joined us along with some other extended family. We were rushing to the train, and my family ended up on a different car than my in-laws. We had the pram all parked and May out, so my wife called and invited them to come join us on that car. Most of them do so at the next stop, including my MIL. Meanwhile, May has asked for food. I get her some despite knowing the train has signs saying no food. I am aware that I could get in trouble for it and accept that risk while managing the food so there is no mess. I know this will be viewed as by some as an asshole response, and I'm okay with that. However, I do believe feeding my daughter so she keeps her energy up keeps her in a better mood and makes a more pleasant trip for everyone on the train. My MIL sees me as she is walking up the train and tells me that there is no food allowed on the train. I inform her that I'm aware, but May asked for food. I want to make sure she is taken care of, and if an official asks me to put it away, I will. She then tells me that there are trained security with the same authority as police officers. I responded that I'm aware and didn't engage much after that. May finished her snack, and my MIL eventually dropped the topic. After a few minutes, May started to literally climb the walls, up and down the seats, and hanging off the poles. I am playing with her while keeping her from being too rowdy or disturbing other passengers. I enjoy playing with her and don't mind this one bit. However, Hope, sitting across from us, seeing that I'm the only one interacting with my daughter and how much I am having to manage my daughter's energy, decides that now is a good time for May to call my family. This was a longer trip, so we wanted to keep in contact, but not take away from my in-laws' time with May. Hope had the data on her phone, so she handed it to me, already dialing the video call. We are on the phone for a minute, and the volume is low, quieter than a conversation between Hope and myself would be across the aisle. Nobody outside of our party is nearer than 3 seats away and don't appear bothered by the phone call. May is sitting still talking on the phone when my MIL starts whispering to Hope. A moment later, Hope leans across and tells me she has been told I need to get off the phone. I ask her why, and she tells me her mom said it's against the rules. I look around for signs confirming this and find nothing. No signs about phones, conversations, or anything about noise limitations. I let the phone call go on for a moment, maybe 30 seconds, until there's a lull in the conversation. I tell my parents I've been told we have to go, and I end the call. I go back to entertaining my daughter, but after a few seconds my MIL leans in to tell me about the rules, how you can't be on the phone, and it's impolite. I tell her I don't see any signs or any rules stating this, but she rebuttals, saying it's an unwritten rule that everyone knows. At about this point, someone from Hope's extended family agrees with my MIL, saying that it's a common courtesy. I would like to take a moment here to explain that this is the city Hope grew up in. She has spent countless hours using this very train system, and she has never heard this or seen rules about this, nor has it ever been a problem for her. My MIL, on the other hand, doesn't get out a whole lot comparatively and uses public transport even less, and the extended family member visits the city regularly, but doesn't live nearby. I respond again calmly. My MIL was not calm, saying that it wasn't any louder than a normal conversation. My MIL starts belittling me, calling me rude and selfish, telling me I'm not respecting other cultures, and other insults, just generally aggressive, not giving me much of a chance to get another word in. Everyone in our group has shut down and stopped talking at this point, except me as I attempt to respond to this tirade. At some point, a businessman, let's call him John, boarded the train either near the end of the video call or just after it and watches everything go down. He watches the tirade for a moment and then interrupts, arguing that this isn't a quiet train and that there are no rules about phone calls or anything on the train. My MIL repeats her arguments very aggressively, And the same family member that agreed with her earlier also makes the same argument to John, but that's the last thing she says. John insists that there is no rule and that anyone is free to do as they please on the train. Things continue to escalate as my MIL is pretty much yelling and John has raised his voice. My MIL has begun to call him a misogynist and said she doesn't have to listen to him. John points out that I and my daughter don't have to listen to her. She continues the same argument about courtesy and John tells her that she was more disruptive than my phone call and he had to get involved because of how disruptive she had become. After a few more exchanges, John tells her that if she has the right to tell me to shut up, then he has the right to tell her to shut up. He proceeds to interrupt her every time she opens her mouth, telling her to stop talking until she stops attempting to speak. Our group is riding in silence now, except for my MIL, who I later learn muttered to Hope that she hates how I handle conflict, and she's just going to go home. As we begin to disembark off the train, I get my daughter settled in her pram and ask Hope to take her for a moment. I turn and approach John, who was about 2 and a bit meters away, stick my hand out, and say, "I appreciate it." He asks if I'm not with them as he shakes my hand, and I assure him I am. I go and get the pram from Hope and exit the train. My MIL works her way through the crowd next to me and asks if I really just shook the hand of a man who abused her, says we are family, and that's ing disrespectful. She left before I could respond, and this was said when my daughter could hear everything. From my perspective, John saw a man and his little girl being bullied and stood up for them. Furthermore, I shut down a little when he came to my rescue, so I felt bad letting him take the brunt of my MIL. I did smile and give him a nod of appreciation during the fight, but I didn't feel that was an adequate thank you for the kindness he showed my daughter. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to my channel. There are many great stories for you on my channel. Thank you for watching.